You can access all this information online. We have 3 contractors under the G2G agreement. The Saudi Aramco, which we all know, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, and the Emirates National Oil Company. Madam Speaker, when you check out, it's a fact that 96% of the oil, of the fuel from Saudi Aramco go through the Strait of Hormuz, which now definitely they had to create other channels which are more expensive to be able to have that fuel, landing here in Mombasa. Secondly, is Abu Dhabi has over 50% of their fuel also going through the same. The Emirates NOC have 96% of the liquefied natural fuel, as well as the crude fuel is 55%. So it tells you clearly that all this fuel go through Strait of Hormuz. And therefore, when there is a blockade, they have to create other ways of how to get this fuel in Mombasa. Therefore, the landing cost has gone way up. And I would be expecting that then leaders who will be speaking going into the future must be honest to Kenyans. You don't speak as it suits you. There are also facts that must be backed up on what we're talking about. Finally, I want to encourage the creation of a refinery, whether we bring in the various countries around here regionally or within Kenya, so that we be processing the crude oil, which then will be a bit cheaper here, and also look at the available places that we can be able to get oil within our country, so that then we can be able to reduce the cost of fuel. But generally, I want to appreciate the initiatives the government has been able to take so that we have fuel in our country that is affordable, and encourage also Kenyans that let's use all the other things that we are, the means that we are able to use that would reduce the utilization of oil or the costly fuel in our country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Honorable KJ. Honorable KJ is from Dagoretti.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah,
and
so
I would
Dagoretti
also,
South.
This is Dagoretti South, the great Dagoretti South constituency. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to start by just commending the members of Parliament for adjourning very serious business to discuss this very serious matter of national interest, because this is a matter that can only get solutions in the House that makes budget and the House that is also involved in proposing taxes for this country, Madam Speaker. And as we approach this debate, Madam Speaker, my first plea would be for us as members of Parliament to be true to the mantra that calls us to the wisdom that he who comes to equity must come to equity with clean hands. In the sense that, Madam Speaker, that we as a House, is that we are the ones who are responsible for the taxes that Kenyans are faced with. We are the ones responsible even for the prices, informed by the decisions that we debate in this House as we make our budget, and no less people like even my very good friend from my alma mater, the Honorable Ndende Nyoro, who he himself served as a member and a chairperson of the Budget Committee at a time when some of the issues that we are debating today were coming to place, Madam Speaker, informing this House, Madam Speaker, and reminding ourselves that even some of the issues that speak to the cost of fuel, up to and including the RMLF, were considered and passed in his time as the chairperson of the Budget Committee, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, this speaks to the honesty that we must have as members of this House.
Honorable Ndende Nyoro. What is out of order?
I would never have wanted to interrupt Honorable KJ, but he mentioned my name adversely. And Honorable KJ has been in this parliament now going to 10 years. I think he knows better that the rules around taxation, RMLF, VAT, and no others are not the domain of the Budget Committee. Please, Honorable KJ, take time to read the standing orders, orient yourself, and I hope you can become a better member of Parliament.
Honorable Speaker, I do say this speaking to the principle of collective responsibility, that it was in the time when Honorable Ndende Nyoro was a chairperson of budget that the RMLF came into place. And Madam Speaker, at that time, he was almost mute about this matter. So he might not have found his new voice at this time when we are debating this issue of fuel costs in this country, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, that is not what I did rise up to speak about. My point was that he who comes to equity must come to equity with clean hands, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is a time when this House must make decisions. And some of these decisions are informed by matters that go beyond the boundaries of this country, Madam Speaker. The issues that are happening internationally, up to and including the wars that are happening around the world, and even the situation in the Strait of Hormuz, do speak to the cost and prices that are happening today. But Madam Speaker, this House has to be sensitive to the members of the public in this republic, and even more so, operators who are directly affected by the rise of the cost of fuel, who are our constituents, Madam Speaker, and our business is to debate solutions, Madam Speaker, as it is informed by our mantra that we serve for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. Madam Speaker, it has to also be noted that we are at the time of budgeting. It is budgeting season for this House. That some of the reliefs that we seek, Madam Speaker, we have to say that they are considered in this budget that is coming up, Madam Speaker, and I dare say, even ahead of time, that there shall be resolutions that shall be passed by this House as we are debating this budget and passing it, that will also speak to the matters that we are considering today. Madam Speaker, it must also be noted as we are debating this issue that we are not at liberty as Kenya to compare ourselves even with our neighbors, Madam Speaker, because the situation that is affecting the world is being felt across the globe. And even as we talk about fuel prices in our neighboring countries, we must be reminded that in places where the prices are fewer, the fuel is not available, Madam Speaker. And I'm reminded of an expose that was done by the journalist called Alex Chamwada, where he was showing us as the Kenyans that even that Ethiopia that we compare ourselves to itself might be having lower fuel prices, but does not have the fuel to sell, Madam Speaker. And it must be a commendation to the government that there was foresight in the arrangements that availed fuel at a time of crisis, as we are speaking today, that Kenyans, unlike our neighbors, are not queuing to get fuel, Madam Speaker, and that the last time Kenyans were queuing for fuel is at a time of the last government where prices were so high and even the remedies that were put were very punitive to Kenyans. Madam Speaker, the solutions must be found in this House, and we must start walking in the direction of those solutions. Madam Speaker, we know that fuel just came about as petrol came about as fuel not more than 100 years ago. And before that, there was coal, Madam Speaker. And as we speak today, the world must start walking in a direction where we are talking about green energy, Madam Speaker. And I must commend people like Moses Nderito, he himself an industrialist and a very forward-thinking Kenyan, even with some of the things that we are seeing in innovation, up to and including the electric buses that we are seeing. But Madam Speaker, it would be unfair for me to conclude without calling upon the financial institutions and banking sector to look into this matter as a Kenyan situation that needs reprieve, even from the banks, Madam Speaker. That at a time of COVID, we saw banks moving towards cushioning Kenyans against some of the costs, Madam Speaker. And if there's a time that Kenya must call our banking sector to patriotism, that time is now, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity and call upon Kenyans to also consider forward thinking as we even put.
Your time is up. Member for Embakasi West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, right from the get-go, I want to thank the Speaker and the team that has brought this issue of fuel. Honorable Speaker, this is a very emotive issue. And even today, Honorable Speaker, when I was in one of my WhatsApp groups, I wrote that today we are reporting back to work as members of Parliament, Parliament coming back from recession, and everyone who was tagging me in that same WhatsApp group was, can you discuss fuel together with other issues? Honorable Speaker, we're talking about a war that has affected fuel prices globally. And Honorable Speaker, this issue is not new because when the Ukraine war started, fuel prices were still an issue. Honorable Speaker, it's good to note the Ukraine war has now gone on longer than the Second World War. We now have an Iran war. We don't know how long this war is going to go for. So that is something that we must bear in mind. Honorable Speaker, having learned from that, we must now anticipate what might happen, because now we know that war affects fuel prices. Palestine is a risk. We have Iraq, we have Venezuela, we have Cuba. All these countries, there is a risk that there could be a further war, maybe with the US or one of the partners of the US. So that is a risk that we must put in mind. Honorable Speaker, we must remember that tariffs are always affecting fuel prices. Sanctions that every day are always issued now and then. The economic trends, the global economic trends, scarcity as well, and that could be an issue in the future because we do know that oil fields in various countries, Dubai and other areas, we've seen them drying up. Honorable Speaker, the US dollar, how the rate goes up and down. We're not stranger to what happened in 2022, where the US dollar affected us. Honorable Speaker, disease. You know, we shut down the country just about 6 years ago because of COVID. We must accept there's an Ebola crisis just across the border. Honorable Speaker, there's still hantavirus, which had marooned a number of foreign citizens somewhere, and they're still being treated, and who knows what could happen. So these issues, Honorable Speaker, we must be alive to them, that they will always be there. And once we accept that they will always be there, then it moves us to the next step. Well, Honorable Speaker, we look at, right now, we have a G2G deal. And Honorable Speaker, I'll submit to you that this deal was more built on supply rather than looking at price. So at the very beginning, it looked like a very good deal. But having even listened to even some of the people who've contributed, is that we can see that there is a problem with this G2G deal. And if it cannot respond to the issue of price, then it is a bad deal. And we must consider getting rid of it. And Honorable Speaker, I want to put a practical example. We know that there are a number of people who are heading EPRA, KPC. They tried. They realized there was a problem with the G2G deal, and they tried to find a way to get cheaper fuel into the country. And lo and behold, unfortunately, these people lost their jobs or are fired, and innocent people like Joe Sang who lost their jobs. I didn't want to go into that direction. But those people who went to incite this situation to have some of those people fired, we've come to realize they had interests. And Honorable Speaker, I'm not afraid to say, the chair of KPC, Faith, we now know they had interests. And that's why they didn't want to see anybody who was trying to go outside this G2G deal. So, Honorable Speaker, the systemic shocks will always be there. Honorable Speaker, we must think 12 months from now, Honorable Speaker. I'd propose, when it comes to RMLF, that we retain the same because we lost a lot, Honorable Speaker, and the 290 constituencies rely on this. Let us look at the matatu prices. Let us talk to the landlords to ensure that there's a freeze on our rent. Let us do food subsidies. Let us do kazi mtaani to protect these people. KPLC, let them start looking at nuclear and coal energy. And Honorable Speaker, finally, I think it is time we consider a fuel subsidy bond or an infrastructure bond that we can float out there for a certain amount, whether it's 12%, so the government can collect a bit of money. In exchange of reducing RMLF, let us use that fund to subsidize the cost of fuel for...
Very well. Member for Busia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to start by cautioning Honorable Ndindi Nyoro. He is not the sole holder or sole owner of the franchise of truth in Kenya. He sat on a committee that he witnessed unfair allocation of resources and said nothing, misled Kenyans. This global crisis, we must all accept that it is not Kenya that did that. When bigger people, giants up there, who produce also this oil, start fighting, this disruption will, of course, come to us and harm everybody, whether you have or you have nothing. I was seated with my friends who own motorbikes in Busia, and they were talking while I took notes. They said, fine, the government has reduced some taxes and reduced diesel prices, but our motorbikes, ma'am, they don't use diesel. We use petrol. I noted. Other women in the villages said, we still use lamps, kerosene, paraffin. That too go and represent us. Why were they telling me, yet they know very well that I am in broad-based government? Because they do not want this issue to be politicized, to be taken the direction my friend Ndindi Nyoro is taking. Let us not mislead Kenyans just because
What
they
is
will
out of
see
order?
us as fairer.
You have mentioned member for Kearu. Let us hear. It's not information. He's on a point of order.
Honorable Speaker, again, I would never have wanted to interrupt the member for Busia, but she has clearly put it that she sat down with the boda riders in Busia, and they were requesting her to do something about the fuel prices. They were not talking to you as a roadside talk. It is for you to do something about it. And that is what precisely I have done. And that is why even Parliament has allocated me time to appear before the relevant committees from tomorrow with the concrete ideas on how to lower fuel prices. If indeed you mean well for those, for our brothers, the boda riders.
What is out of order?
What is out of order is for the member to keep on misinforming the House about my proposals, which I enumerated before, concrete objective, and she wants now to politicize very objective proposals on helping the same boda riders.
You have made your point. Honorable Omanyo, this is a house of debate.
Yes, and I'm
You are
debating
also
very
free
nicely,
to make
Madam Speaker.
proposals without castigating other proposals.
Madam Speaker, I went back to how he misled us when he was the chair of budget committee. And I realized he's the one who put us in this trouble. So I was trying to remind him that he was also part of the problem. When facing this crisis today, it has come a long way, so we can tag him along the problems. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can I now finish? I know this scarcity has cost...
Member for Kearu.
Honorable Speaker, and I think it's clear for Kenyans to see why, to be a Secretary General, you actually need to qualify to be one. And I would want to request the Honorable I would want to ask the member for Busia to put it in black and white on the things he's talking about when I was the chairman of budget. I have laid a proposal bare. It is upon her to take time to either support or oppose.
Honorable Ndindi Nyoro. Honorable Ndindi Nyoro. Honorable members, we agreed we will debate in decorum. I will also caution Honorable Ndindi not to castigate, to cast aspersions to Honorable Omanyo. But Honorable Omanyo, you have 5 minutes. Okay. You can choose to keep referring to Honorable Ndindi Nyoro's proposals, yes, or put forward yours in your submissions.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Because it's also good to have reference. Then you now give solutions. Thank you, Madam Speaker. He was my reference. I agree that actually the pinch has gotten everybody, whether you have or you have not. And I'm thinking ahead. as we solve, because the government has reduced a few things here and there, we will still feel the pinch because it is not coming to end soon. The way I keep reading news, we have people who, I don't know what they gain in wars. Whatever they gain, that's their problem. But as Kenyans, I think in future, we should not focus on buying these machines that depend on petrol and diesel because we don't produce these things. We are under the mercy of the producers. So if any Kenyan will think of buying cars in futures, electrical, motorbikes, the same, then we change from using even paraffin and kerosene, which is also not very healthy for all of us. We go to other things that the producers and manufacturers of those products, when they decide to not even supply Kenya, then we are still okay with our choices. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for granting me an opportunity to speak on this very, very important subject. Honorable Speaker, certainly the issue of increase in the price of fuel is an emotive issue in this country. Honorable Speaker, I sincerely empathize with Kenyans who have to bear the brunt of the high cost of living that has been brought about by the high cost of fuel prices. Honorable Speaker, as Parliament, we have an obligation to defend the interests of our people. And for that, Honorable Speaker, we must sit down as a House and look at concrete measures that we must take into account so that we shoulder Kenyans from this high cost of fuel prices. Because, Honorable Speaker, either way, with the increase of fuel prices, it will affect all sectors of our economy. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I must appreciate the fact that the G2G agreement, this country, Honorable Speaker, has assisted us as a country. I have watched news in countries like Burundi, Ethiopia, where there is massive, there is short supply of fuel in that country. Honorable Speaker, in as much as we want to criticize this G2G agreement, Honorable Speaker, I support the fact and appreciate the fact that there has been a constant supply in Kenya of fuel, courtesy of the G2G agreement, which provided for 180-day credit terms. Honorable Speaker, also that G2G agreement, Honorable Speaker, has eliminated the need for monthly spot purchases, and that is why you see the issue. We have a consistent supply of fuel in this country. But, Honorable Speaker, this government has focused on production subsidy rather than consumption subsidy. Honorable Speaker, I have heard many members here comparing the prices in Kenya with Tanzania. Honorable Speaker, Tanzania has heavily subsidized fuel prices. And of course, that has a way of affecting the economy of the country. Honorable Speaker, in terms of consumption subsidy, for example, in fertilizer, when we subsidized fertilizer from 7,000 shillings to 2,500 shillings, Honorable Speaker, you've seen increased production in our farms. Honorable Speaker, as a House I've said, Honorable Speaker, we must also be able to regulate oil marketers' profit margins. If the high profit margins of the oil marketers is making the palm prices go up, then, Honorable Speaker, we must find a way to regulate the oil marketers' profit margins so that at the end of the day, the consumers benefit. Honorable Speaker, I also agree with my colleagues here that we must diversify our sources of supply and route. Only look at a specific source of supply, we must be able to diversify as a country so that we get more oil sources. But, Honorable Speaker, having said that, last week or 2 weeks ago, we saw there were protests that some few individuals took advantage of those peaceful protests to engage in acts that violated our constitution. Honorable Speaker, we saw muggings in the streets. We saw vehicles being burned. We saw property being damaged. Honorable Speaker, I wish to remind our people, our Kenyans, that we have one country that we must protect. Honorable Speaker, Article 37 of our Constitution talks about protests or picketing that is peaceful, and people should not be armed. So, Honorable Speaker, in as much as we have challenges with the issue of fuel prices, with the economy, Honorable Speaker, we must engage in a civil manner and in a manner that protects the greater interests of our country. So, Honorable Speaker, as a leader, I support
fuel for a rich man. Honorable Speaker, I'm taken aback that instead of us closing ranks and looking for a viable solution for our people, we have emotionalized the debate. Honorable Speaker, we had COVID in this country. We closed ranks and we sat down from both sides and agreed on the way forward. There have been very concrete proposals put on the floor here from either side. And as a country that wants to resolve an issue, we should pick those concrete proposals and put them into action. Because at the end of the day, people want reprieve. The economy wants reprieve. If oil prices continue to escalate, this economy will collapse. Fact. Honorable Speaker, these are my proposals. I agree entirely with a proposal put forward by Honorable Ndindi that we need to share the profits. We reduce the profits of the marketers. That would give us some reprieve. Honorable Speaker, I also want to propose that we look at an aspect of G2G and renegotiate, not only to look at the issue of supply, we must look at the issue of price so that both variables are put into the agreement. It will give us some reprieve. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, at this point in the country, it is my proposal that we look for a middle way to provide a subsidy for a period of time, 6 months, as we monitor the global politics. On the other hand, Honorable Speaker, what are we doing in the long term in terms of our oil exploration in Turkana? Honorable Speaker, what are we doing with all the coal in Kitui? Honorable Speaker, it is the right time to look for resources and ensure that we have our own refinery and we go into exploring our oil in Turkana. Fourthly, Honorable Speaker, it is important that we also diversify our sources of fuel. We have countries that we could source fuel from without using the Arab fleet, which has to use the Strait of Hormuz. Honorable Speaker, I want to plead with my colleagues that the situation we are in now we cannot call each other names. We need to reason together. We need to look for solutions together. We should not bastardize government, but we need to sit down as members of parliament and agree that this is the direction we want to go. But at least give our people reprieve, give the economy some spike. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Member for Mogotio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a very timely and discussion and motion, Madam Speaker, because the moment we are in requires that we all come together, devoid of our political affiliation. And we need to have this discussion soberly without looking at which formation you come from and which part of the formation you come from, Madam Speaker. As a nation, we are not an oil-producing nation. We are oil takers nation, Madam Speaker. And the prices being set, global prices being set, Madam Speaker, does not only affect us, but it also affects our economy, Madam Speaker. So as a nation, we need to start looking into our future, that what do we do to get away from this? Because we are slaves of fossil oil from other countries. We have to look at, as we look for short-term discussions, such as the discussion and the ideas that members are putting across here, Madam Speaker, we need to think on how to be independent in future and how to be able to survive in this harsh global environment, Madam Speaker. So as a nation, we need to look at how we can harness the Turkana oil that we have and put our refinery so that we are able to caution our own citizens when it comes to such a moment and such a time. We also need to look on how we can move from oil dependency to electric vehicles and other things, Madam Speaker, and diversifying so that we're able to generate our own energy and go into electric cars and other things that can make this nation run without being over-dependent and being slave of fossil oil that has made us to be where we are at such a moment when we are trying to recover from our economic problem which we are in the economic den which we are in, that we are on a trajectory towards recovery. But now the oil prices and the global problem caused by America, Israel, and Iran has put us, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we look at this issue and discuss soberly, it's also good for us, all of us, to be honest in this discussion and not be hypocritical when we are looking at it and blaming government. When sometimes back, when some of us were in government, Madam Speaker, we had the opportunity to put proposals that could have changed the debt situation of our nation, but maybe we failed to do so at that time, Madam Speaker. But now it is fashionable because politically it is right to do so, Madam Speaker. Our nation requires patriotism, not only in government, but also from private sector, Madam Speaker. That as the government look for measures, as the members of parliament here discuss on measures on how to lower the prices, Madam Speaker, also the private sector, such as Matatu owners, should also look at a way of not hiking prices and taking advantage of the situation that we are in a nation and hiking prices. And when the oil prices come down, they don't lower the prices of the matatu or of the matatu along our roads, Madam Speaker. So Kenyans remain with the burden of paying expensive prices on our roads, Madam Speaker, when we should have been patriot enough and try to caution Kenyans. Even our banks should also caution Kenyans and assist Kenyans at such a moment, not auctioning them or selling them or putting pressure on the matatu owners and other people so that we are able to caution Kenyans from this pressure of the high prices, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's also a shame, Madam Speaker, it's also a shame that those people who have been fashioning themselves as the united opposition, Madam Speaker, when we are discussing such a serious matter like this, Madam Speaker, they are not in the House, Madam Speaker. They are the same people who have been posturing outside there as the defendants of Kenyans, Madam Speaker. But when Kenyans are discussing, when elected leaders are discussing issues touching Kenyans, we don't see the faces of those calling themselves united opposition, Madam Speaker. The same people who are shouting loud, they are not here to give suggestion on what should be done, Madam Speaker. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, you know, Madam Speaker, the honorable member for Kiaru is my good friend, Madam Speaker. And he's been my friend for a long time, Madam Speaker. But 2-3 years ago, Madam Speaker, he was the chair of Budget and Appropriation Committee, Standing Committee on Budget and Appropriation in this House, Madam Speaker. And as the chair in this House, Madam Speaker, he had an option, he had a time, and he had every other opportunity to be able to look into our debt situation, because what is pressing Kenyans is our debt, Madam Speaker. But now he's telling us he wants to sit with the Committee of Budget, and he's seeking for attention of the Chairman Budget and Chairman Committee to give suggestion. When for 3 years he's been the one receiving the suggestions, he should have been able to assist this country of ours. He should have been able to
Honorable members, I don't know, your time is up, member for Mogotio, and I know you're seated with the member of Kiharu, and you have confirmed your friend, so I want to indulge the member for Machakos, Honorable Kamene, to make her submission.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I rise to contribute on this matter of the continued rise of fuel prices in our country, a situation that is now hurting ordinary Kenyans, industries, farmers, transport operators, and the entire economy. Today, the cost of fuel is no longer just an energy issue. It is the cost of living crisis. When fuel price rises, the price of food rises. Transport fares increase, electricity, and the cost goes up. Common mwananchi is suffering. I am therefore supporting measures that we should, as Parliament, caution to make sure that Kenyans are retrieved from this suffering they are going through. I want to bring up, and I want to thank Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro, because he has been in the forefront, trying to fight, understanding what the common mwananchi is going through. And I truly respect all members of Parliament. And it is true, we speak when we are outside, and even here, we want to speak out. And these are some of the measures that, indeed, when we come together, we'll be able to see how to save this situation. We need an increased transparency in the fuel pricing by EPRA. We need that more than ever. We need to create subsidies so that, and these subsidies, we should make sure they are benefiting the consumers directly, not even the middleman. Because we are here, and this is the house that is able to do all this. We ought to strengthen the oversight of the government-to-government fuel import arrangements. Because even when you hear everybody discuss this issue outside, they keep pointing at this. But we are always quick to avoid these questions that the common mwananchi and every citizen is asking. Transparency, corruption. We saw those 2 ships coming the other day. Total corruption. We have never seen anybody put into book. No arrestments have been made. What does that tell us? We are comfortable. And this issue of members of Parliament of blame game. Oh, last time when you were there, nothing was done. Now you're talking. For heaven's sake, our people are suffering and we need solutions. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Chair, Energy Committee, Honorable Gikaria.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to be able to raise and support, and also thank Honorable GK, the Chair of Roads, for bringing this very important adjournment for us to be able to talk about and discuss this very important matter that is affecting this country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the G2G arrangement that we have, Honorable Speaker, resulted out of an understanding of what Kenya was going through, Honorable Speaker. You remember when this administration came into office, Honorable Speaker, the dollar was upwards of 160, 100 and something. And of course, Kenya needed, for you to be able to purchase this very important product, it is on a monthly basis that you are supposed to collect huge amounts of dollars for us to be able to do this. So over and above the consistency in supply, Honorable Speaker, the G2G also cautioned the pricing cycle and the prices of the petroleum product, Honorable Speaker. Sometimes back, Honorable Speaker, after the Triton scandal, we came up with a very good system that was called open tender system that has become a system that is used by almost so many other African countries who came to learn out of that. But the G2G, it was a very good system, Honorable Speaker, but because of the challenges that we fell into as a country, then we had to look for ways. And of course, this administration came with a G2G, Honorable Speaker, that really addressed so many issues for this, and of course, relieving the very physical space that we keep on talking about, Honorable Speaker. This war that is there, that actually has now come to question the G2G arrangement, Honorable Speaker. How we wish that we would be able to pray every day and night that it will come to an end, Honorable Speaker. Because it is out of this war that we have no any other responsibility, Honorable Speaker, as a country, that we are where we are. Honorable Speaker, this afternoon I was before the Budget and Appropriation Committee, just to talk on how best then, and some of the questions over and above the budget issue that I was presenting, Honorable Speaker, the first question that the committee wanted to know is about the fuel prices of this country. And Honorable Speaker, I took almost 20 minutes trying to explain where we are, the supply, the days, the stocks that we have. And of course, they had a lot of concerns. But I want to agree that as a few, and it's unfortunate, Honorable Speaker, we have been asking for money for an institution called NOC. Honorable Speaker, it is in the Budget Committee that we normally go so that we can be able to ask for monies. Honorable Speaker, in my tenure as a chair of the Energy Committee in 2018-2019, we had proposed this. And again, Honorable Speaker, in this Parliament, the 13th Parliament, again, when I took over the chairmanship of, we have been trying to get resources to be able to give money to NOC, the National Oil Corporation of Kenya, that we can be able, and I want to thank the Budget Committee for the last one financial year, that they were able to give us resources to be able to relieve the NOC from the financial burden and the debts that they had. And this year we were looking forward, and I want to thank the National Infrastructure Fund, where NOC is a government-owned enterprises has been taken to, and we are looking forward to maybe in the next 1 year, maybe these things will be over. That NOC will be back on its feet. It will be the institution that will be given that responsibility to do that work. Honorable Speaker, it has been asked about the Turkana oil. Honorable Speaker, by December this year, the first batch of our crude oil will be sold. And we have a very good crude oil, Honorable Speaker. The sulfur content is reasonable. So we would just want to request Kenyans to be a little bit patient, that with time, these prices, and with the timing that has been given, a request that the waiver that was requested by the Ministry of Trade, hopefully within 6 months, if things go well, Honorable Speaker, within the next 1 month or so. And the government has done so much. 13.
It is 5 minutes. Member for Nairobi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute. Madam Speaker, as we discuss the concerns on rising fuel prices and the ongoing already done with protests, let's be honest with Kenyans. We understand that fuel prices increasing is going to give our people pain. Transport costs will go up, food prices will be affected, businesses will be under pressure, but we must resist the temptation to oversimplify the issues and mislead Kenyans for political mileage. The opposition is comparing Kenya's fuel prices with those of our neighbors without giving the full picture. Kenya has one of the most structured and transparent fuel pricing systems in the region under the Energy, Petroleum, and Regulatory Authority. Our prices reflect international crude oil prices, exchange rates, taxes, levies, transport, stabilization mechanisms, global tensions, rising crude oil prices have affected all the countries across the world. Taxes and levies contribute significantly to the pump price. Kenyans apply VAT, excise duty, road maintenance levy, petroleum development levy, and other charges. Parliament must, I agree, Parliament must continue to review these levies to cushion Kenyans where possible, but let us also tell Kenyans the whole truth. Some neighboring countries are cushioning fuel through subsidies and delayed price adjustments. Kenya has instead focused on ensuring a stable supply while managing fiscal responsibility. And this is where we must defend the government-to-government import arrangements. Madam Speaker, the G2G framework has constantly been attacked politically. Yet we must ask ourselves honestly, would we be worse off for Kenya and the economy, a controlled price increase or an actual fuel shortage? Because when fuel runs out, the economy does not merely become expensive, it becomes paralyzed. We have seen neighboring countries experiencing long queues, panic buying, rationing, supply disruptions. Kenya, despite the global shocks and foreign exchange pressures, has largely maintained fuel availability. Public transport continues operating, hospitals continue functioning, food continues reaching markets, businesses continue serving Kenyans because fuel remains available. The government-to-government arrangement was introduced to reduce pressure on our dollar reserves by allowing Kenyans to secure fuel on extended credit terms instead of immediate dollar demands. This has helped stabilize the market, protect the shilling from further pressures, and avoid supply disruptions. Madam Speaker, fuel powers agriculture, manufacturing, transport, electricity, generation, regional trade. A shortage would trigger inflation at levels worse than what we are currently experiencing. Now, as we debate the matter, let us also stop reducing national conversations into an attack against President William Samoei Ruto. The opposition today is bent on demonizing every action of the government, even where the intention is clearly to move Kenya forward. But in so doing, they forget the important lesson from the greatest opposition leader the country has ever produced, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, may he rest in peace. Even at the height of political tension, Raila Odinga understood one thing: Kenya must never burn because of politics. No matter how difficult the moments became, and even when he believed elections had not gone fairly, he reached moments where he chose the country over division, stability over chaos, and dialogue over destruction. When we agreed to work with President William Ruto through the broad-based approach, it was not a weakness. It was statesmanship. It was recognizing that a divided nation cannot prosper. But it was that understanding that peace, stability, and investor confidence are necessary for jobs, growth, and opportunity. Madam Speaker, we cannot oppose development simply because it's being done by political opponents. When government renovates airports, improves roads, builds stadiums, modernizes infrastructure, expands affordable housing to improve facilities like the Bomas International Conference.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very important matter. Madam Speaker, the economy of a country runs on the back of diesel. When the cost of diesel goes up, the cost of transportation of every item goes up. And when the cost of transportation of every item goes up, it means the cost of every item, that cost will be passed to the common mwananchi out there. Madam Speaker, the cost of living has gone up because of the current cost of primarily diesel. What the government, we are calling on this government to please consider its citizens and reduce all these taxes that are in the cost of fuel. Some of the costs, like the fuel levy and the VAT, should be reduced temporarily, maybe for 2 months or so, or 3 months, so that we can reduce the cost of fuel for mwananchi. I think it's a high time this government became responsible and reduced the cost of fuel for the common mwananchi. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Lelmengit.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to add my voice on this issue. And Honorable Speaker, I would like to support. And when fuel prices, Honorable Speaker, go up, it goes up for everybody, whether in opposition, united opposition, or supporting government. All of us in this country feel the pain. But we have to come to terms with this fact, Honorable Speaker, because we know what are the reasons for the fuel going up in this country. We know it is the US, Israel war fights against Iran. And Honorable Speaker, we understand that this is a global issue. And
Honorable Member for Marakwet, you are
debate.
totally out of order. I'll give Marakwet.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for protecting me from loud discussions. Honorable Speaker, we can debate this issue all day, throughout the week, throughout the year. But we have to look at what can the government forego and what are we willing to take as citizens of this country. I've looked at how government comes up with the fuel pump prices in this country, and we have the funds for price stabilization. We can play with it where the government can work on something about it. We have on the excise duties, we have on the road maintenance levy, and the VAT, Honorable Speaker, where at the moment the government has cut the VAT by 50%, Honorable Speaker. We also understand, Honorable Speaker, that fuel generates revenue to this country. It's one of the largest amongst other sectors that generate revenue to this country, Honorable Speaker. So what are we willing to forego? Are we willing to forego the RMLF, the road maintenance levy, which we have already committed those funds to repair our roads across the country? We are in a very rainy season at the moment, Honorable Speaker, and the roads across the city and different parts of the country, Honorable Speaker, are in pathetic condition. Are we willing to forego this and use bad roads? Honorable Speaker, again, I know we have done securitization of these funds, Honorable Speaker. Are we willing to stop the securitization and stop the development of roads in this country? Honorable Speaker, we have also to be alive to the fact that this is a temporary matter. And I pray that probably in another few months, this thing will be a thing of the past. Honorable Speaker, it is very sad that we see other countries, Honorable Speaker, that they have fuel shortage because probably they didn't plan early or probably they preferred subsidy. And subsidizing fuel too much, Honorable Speaker, means that we have to cut resources from other sectors like health, like education, so that we can subsidize on fuel. So therefore, paralyzing other sectors of the economy, Honorable Speaker. So since the energy sector sat down and gave a proposal that this is the way we want to levy tax and also give a standard price of the fuel pump price of the petroleum in this country, Honorable Speaker. I think it is high time that we come to a reality as Kenyans that if we even do the subsidy, it will overburden the government and also cut supply of funds to other sectors of the economy like education and health. We've seen also a lot of shortages across the different countries in Africa, Honorable Speaker, including a country like Malawi. At the moment, petrol, diesel cost per liter goes for close to 500 Kenyan shillings, Honorable Speaker. And we have to appreciate the fact that at least Kenya, we have constant supply of fuel, be it diesel or petrol or kerosene, only that the prices are a little bit high. We have to appreciate the fact that we have so many roads that we are maintaining. We have so much roads that we've committed that we need to develop. Honorable Speaker, I want to urge the united opposition that let us not politicize this thing. It is a sad reality that is hitting all of us as a country, but we have to live with it, and let us not politicize. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Order, members. Honorable members, and the time being 7 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Thursday, 28th May 2026 at 2:30 p.m.
Two minutes to 9:30 in the PM, in the AM. This is the live broadcast of the Senate proceedings streaming from the Senate chambers, Parliament buildings in Nairobi. And this is a broadcast that is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in partnership with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. A warm welcome to you, and we are glad that you're joining us.